So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for attending our webinar, The Headaches and Migraines. It's not just in your head. When we were planning this webinar about 3 months ago, and we saw that headaches and migraines could be caused by a multitude of factors, and so that's why we want to apply a holistic approach to today's presentation. And when I say holistic, I talk about that the body, the mind, and the environment can play a role in causing the headaches and migraines. So to approach this holistic view, we have 4 speakers. Rebeka is going to be from Addo Living, is going to be talking about the essential oils. Then myself, Darrell from Satori Health and Wellness, representing massage therapy and osteopathy, how to do it from a manual approach. Dr. Lisa Weeks will provide us with how she's going to approach it using her naturopathic medicine approach. And then finally, we have Colleen Santini. She's going to talk about how incomplete communication could be cause of headaches and migraines. And she'll talk about how to be more fulfilled and happy, and how to be more successful to be more productive. And let's see, before we move on, let's just do a quick poll. And this one is, let's launch it. How do you get relief? Just click on some of the options that you've tried before, and let's see what the results come up with. Is everyone able to see the results right now or no? Yeah, you can see them. Okay. Okay, so it looks like a few people have tried essential oils and massage therapy, a little bit of osteopathy, some naturopathic medicine, great for yoga, and some supplements too. So yeah, we've got a bit of a wide range here. What's great about today's presentation is that we're probably going to be showing you about 10 or 15 different strategies on how to approach headaches and migraines. So to go into a little bit more detail, we're going to have Lisa Weeks talks about, give us an introduction about headaches and migraines.
So if you could advance the slides, Darrell, please. Okay, great. Oh yeah, quick quiz for you. So how many Canadians do you think suffer from chronic migraines? If the population of Canada is approximately 38.2 million, how many people do you think are suffering from chronic migraines? You can pop your answer in the chat, A, B, or C. I'll just give you a moment. So it's actually 2.7 million. So still significant, still a huge number. And a lot of people with headaches don't actually realize they have migraines. So I'm sure it's a lot higher than the 2.7 million. We'll go to the next question, Darrell. What are some negative side effects of medications such as Tylenol or Advil that can be used for headaches? So what if you overuse them? What could happen? So put your answer in the chat. So A is ringing in the ears. B is liver toxicity, C is kidney failure, D is heartburn, E is gastrointestinal bleed, and F is all of the above. I know these sound scary, right? So this is from overuse. Yes, it's all of the above if we look at this potential side effects combined. We'll go to the next slide, please, Darrell. So what are some causes of headaches? We're going to talk about headaches and migraines. So there's 3 main types of headaches: tension, sinus, and cluster, and each has a column on their own. So tension headaches can be caused by eye strain. A good strategy is to use the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, look away 20 feet at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. Probably hard to do in your workday, but maybe try to do that at least once an hour. We know the eye strain from being on our computer can cause tension headaches, as can stress, skipping meals, and being hungry. The tension headaches typically are across both sides of the head, and it may start at the back and move forward, and it's the most common type. sinus headaches, most people know they'll feel it in their forehead, in their sinuses. Sometimes their teeth can even hurt. So this can be from allergies or infections. And the pain can be worse when you stand up or when you wake up and when you bend forward because of that pressure. And cluster headaches are more complicated. They include a dilation of the brain blood vessels due to the release of serotonin, histamine, due to bright lights, physical exertion, and altitude. So it can be behind or around one eye, and it can radiate to other areas of the face, head, and neck. And it usually happens at the same time of day for a period of time. We'll contrast that with migraines. There are overlaps, so we'll move to the next slide, please, Darrell. So migraines are a primary headache disorder, but interestingly enough, you may not get head pain. You may get all like the aura, the prodrome, and then, the fatigue and the weariness after, but it is considered a primary headache disorder, and severe head pain may be one of the symptoms. We know it impacts the brain in so many ways. It is a neurological disease that not only affects the signalings and the pathways in the brain, but the chemicals, the arteries, and the brain stem. And that's where we house our nausea centers. So if the arteries and the messengers in the brain are being impacted in the brain stem, you can have that nausea, you can have that vomiting. Associated symptoms include nausea, dizziness, extreme fatigue, and then you can be sensitive to light, sounds, or smells. We're going to, all four of us here, we're going to be discussing Sarah. So this is a case study. It's a typical presentation I see of someone coming into my clinic with headaches. So she is a 48-year-old female. We're all going to talk about how we would support Sarah, but I'm going to give you her case first. So she's a 48-year-old female. She's in the sandwich generation. So she's caring for her 2 young kids while looking after her aging parents. Her stress is high because she's working full time. She's on screens most of the day, and she's been having chronic headaches for 3 years. She was taking Advil every day, but then it stopped working for her. So we'll each visit how we would approach this case. We're going to move now to Rebeka, and she's going to talk about some in-the-moment treatments for busy moms like Sarah when they have a headache, and what you can do based on the type of headache or the trigger for the headache or migraine.
All right, thanks, Lisa. And yes, so for Sarah, the 2 things that stood out for me is she's a busy working mom, and she also said that Advil stopped working for her. So I'm not surprised, only because medication is something that our body does and can and will build a resistance to. And what's great about essential oils is your body cannot build a resistance to them. So if something stops working, I really love people trying to consider using essential oils. It's really just the aromatic part of a plant inside of a bottle that can help with different discomforts that people are feeling. So one of the in-the-moment things, she's a mom, having little bottles around you are so great, right? They're really handy dandy, put in your purse, have with you near your home. And so one of the things I would tell her is putting 1 drop of peppermint, so just going like this really quick, the kids are running around you, on your temples, and that can help relieve some tension. I love the roller balls. These are already diluted with coconut oil, and my favorite, I'm going to do it right now, it's called a peppermint halo. So Sarah can be applying it like this, simply like that. I find it, for me personally, works within a minute. And also, if it's a little bit more of an intense headache, there's one called past tense, and you can be applying it the same way on the back of your neck, near your brainstem as well. And on the next slide, Darrell, and I would like to talk with Sarah a bit more, because finding out, what kinds of headaches are you getting, because depending on the source of it, it does matter what oil you're using, right? There are different parts of the plants are studied to help different parts of our body. So for example, if it's a tension headache, that past tense one, hence the name of it, that's when it feels like a squeezing on the top of your head, and you can see the images there. A migraine usually is very painful, often causes nausea, right? And so using one called Deep Blue, which is an anti-inflammatory oil. Also cluster headaches, like Dr. Lisa mentioned, it's usually kind of, you feel it almost like behind your eye. high, frankincense is a great one, and you can just apply it on the area that you're feeling and also on the roof of your mouth. So just putting it on your thumb and pushing up. Sinus headaches, right? You're going to feel those here. Peppermint, whenever you apply peppermint, it actually brings oxygen to that area, so it can help relieve some of the pressure that your sinus may be causing. And my personal headaches I get once a month are from menstrual, and so that would be using a menstrual oil. There's one called Clary Calm. So there's different things. So I'd like to figure out with Sarah, when are you getting these? She says they're chronic, so trying to get to the root of it. On the next slide, if it ends up being something like a migraine, this is from someone, it's fun to play with the oils and figure out. So I'm going to share something that someone shared with me and I share with everyone who tells me they have a migraine. So this is what she figured out for herself. 1 drop of frankincense on the roof of her mouth, past tense on her forehead, deep blue on the back of her neck, digestion on her tummy, and peppermint on a cold washcloth on her forehead. And then she just waits for the oils to kick in. So this is when this person feels that sensation of a migraine coming on. A lot of people say that they almost feel like an aura around them first, and then it kind of gets extreme. So sharing this, and again, this is showing you how to kind of play with the different oils. Digestion helps with nausea. You place it on your tummy, for example. On the next slide, if it's she mentioned the word chronic, right? So both with headaches and migraines, if something's chronic, I like to share this story of hope as well. So if Sarah was sitting in front of me, I would say, you know what, Sarah, I heard your headaches are chronic. I know you're a busy mom with your kids running around. Consider this. So one of a woman I was speaking to, she said she had migraines for 15 years, 5 to 10 migraines a month for about 15 years. And she did a 30-day reset. So that first picture there is a 30-day cleanse kit. It's a very gentle detox. Sometimes we just need to get rid of toxin buildup in our body. And then she continued with, so right here, supplements in the middle, she continued with those. And she hasn't had a migraine in 3 years. So sometimes, again, depending on the root of it, it could just be a lack of certain nutrients that your body needs. It could just be that your body needs to cleanse some things out. And I know the other panelists are going to talk about what some of those other things could be that we need to get rid of first before our headaches or migraines go away. So with that said, I would like to pass it on to Darrell, because he's going to talk to us about a bit more manual therapy when it comes to headaches and migraines.
Thanks, Becca. So Darrell from Satori Health and Wellness, and I have 2 services, a massage therapy and osteopathy, that can help with the headaches and for the migraines. Let's talk about massage therapy. For the case that we're dealing with for Sarah, I would certainly recommend that, massage therapy could be the first line of defense. It sounds like she has a lot of stress and anxiety in her life, and it might be the tense shoulders or the neck muscles that are creeping up here that need to be dealt with. And so to promote circulation, to remove any trigger points or relieve those tight muscles, massage therapy is definitely the first thing to go for. As I was doing some research for the headaches and migraines, I took a look at and found some research about massage therapy and headaches. And so they did a study where they had the participants do 2 massages a week for 30 minutes each time for 4 weeks. And what they found was that the average weekly headaches went down from about 6.8 headaches a week down to 2. While this study had a small sample size, it just gives an indication that a regular massage could be helpful for reducing the incidence of headaches. Now, having a massage while you're having a headache or migraine is probably not recommended. It's during the in-between that we can start to look at those compensatory structures, kind of the neck, the jaw, the back, and the chest, to make sure that those muscle tension has been relieved. If you can't make it for a massage for twice a week for 30 minutes each time, one thing I can suggest is some of the home care. One of the things is what Becca has suggested, doing some of the essential oils, such as the peppermint or the frankincense. For self-massage, there's a picture here that's listed here on how to do the massage. And if everybody can put their hands up like this, and at the back of your neck or the base of your skull, you can start to do some little circles here and the kind of massage and do it towards your ears and just towards the base of the skull here, in a kind of a J pattern. You can also grip your skull there and do it kind of like a 5 out of 10 on the pressure. If your pain starts to get more than like a 7 out of 10, that's maybe something where you should come in and talk to a massage therapist. The final idea that I have for you is to try out for home care is using a foam roller. It doesn't have to be bumpy like this, and put it and lying on the bed, you can kind of roll your head on it to relieve some of those trigger points. Again, more than kind of a 4 or 5 out of 10 in intensity, because sometimes if you do it too intense, that can also trigger a headache. I also want to talk about osteopathy, and so the best way I thought to do this was to give a case study here. This may or may not apply to our case study, Sarah, but perhaps something happened to her tailbone. And so ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. Came in and she was complaining of headaches, and she had tried a variety of practitioners. So she tried a chiropractor, physiotherapist, her own doctor, and a neurologist, and they weren't able to figure where the source of the headaches were coming from. And the x-rays had revealed no issues. It turns out that one of the osteopaths, or the former osteopath that was working for me, told me that she had fallen on the ice on her tailbone 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that was the source of the headaches. What I've learned is that there's a dura, kind of this thin envelope that encompasses the tailbone all the way up to the skull. And so when she fell on the tailbone, that triggered or caused the pain to go back up to the head. And so the moral of the story here is that, headaches are not just in your head here, and it could also be caused by a different part of your body. And that makes sense because our entire body is connected. So, osteopathy, I think, is a great option once you try out massage and you can't explain what's going on there. And it might be a little bit more complex. Osteopathy seeks to find any restrictions in the body and help to return to full mobility. So I've laid out some ideas for massage or for manual therapies as options to explore to release your headaches and your migraines. But dealing with headaches and migraines includes a combination of these remedies that we're talking about today. And so Dr. Lisa Weeks is going to be continuing next and discuss the different options from a naturopathic medicine point of view.
Thanks, Darrell. So I'll jump in. So the causes of headaches are so varied, right? That's why it's so tricky to figure out. And sometimes it can be more than one thing, right? The big ones that come up a lot for causes of headaches and migraines include stress, hormonal imbalances, weather changes, right? But with Sarah, that 48-year-old stressed out mom, for sure her eye strain was aggravating the headaches for her. So she would do more of those eye exercises and look peripherally when you go for a walk. Look as far as you can, and then try to see if you can look at the sides of your vision while you're looking straight. That's a good exercise too. For Sarah, she was in perimenopause, being 48. She was starting to get irregular cycles. So with the change in estrogen levels, that can trigger a migraine for sure. We know premenstrually, right? That can be a big trigger. Menopausally, sometimes first of all, migraines get worse as the estrogen can be up and down at the end of perimenopause, and then it's consistently low after. So potentially a little later in menopause, the migraines may go away if it's solely hormonally driven, but there could be other causes as well. We know dehydration and skipping meals, having low blood sugars, whether they're high at one point and then they crash after a sugary meal or treat, that can trigger head pain. Different foods. So for Sarah, yes, she wasn't drinking enough water. She was skipping breakfast. And she found for her alcohol definitely was a trigger. Different foods that contain histamine, like aged cheeses, for example, deli meats can be triggers for people. She found those to be causes. And definitely stress for her because she was juggling her parents, looking after them, as well as her kids. So we'll go to the next slide, Darrell. And as a naturopath, there's a whole host of tests that I can do through the physical exam. I can check, your blood pressure because hypertension causes headaches. I can check for signs of dehydration and muscle tension and jaw function. I can do urine tests to look at hormone levels. If you have an infection, if you have diabetes, if your urine is concentrated, meaning you're dehydrated. I can do blood tests as well to check iron levels. Low iron's associated with headaches, especially in kids. Thyroid function, underactive thyroid can contribute to headaches. Hormones and food sensitivities, these can all be looked at. I can test different parameters in saliva. And then in the stool, looking at what's happening with your gut. If you have issues in your gut, it can mimic issues in your brain. So the gut barrier, if that's compromised and you have leaky gut, we call it leaky brain, or so increased intestinal permeability, increased brain and permeability. So things, inflammatory products are getting into the brain and causing the migraines and headaches. So what's happening in the gut will definitely influence the brain and the head. Okay, next slide, Darrell. So as a naturopathic doctor, I offer different treatments. Of course, remove, the obvious causes. So get Sarah to drink more water. Maybe she'll use the Waterminder app to track and remind her to drink water. Getting her to have a quick and easy breakfast. I give her some recipes. I can see her in my office for acupuncture to help reduce stress and the muscle tension and different trigger points. In perimenopause and menopause, I can prescribe bioidentical hormone creams so that you have a steady level of hormones and those fluctuations aren't triggering menstrual migraines or premenopausal, perimenopausal migraines. I'll use a whole host of different supplements. Magnesium's a great one, omega-3. I'll go through some of the research on the supplements, but I could talk about that probably for a few hours, but we're limited for time today, but I'll get into some of that in the next slide. Darrell, if you could advance the slide, please. So there's things you can do in the moment when you have a headache and migraine, and then ultimately I am working at the root cause level and working on preventing them from happening, right? In the moment, there's an acupressure point right on the hand here, large intestine 1. You can press this for acupressure, and that can help to relieve some of the pain. If it's a headache, that meridian travels up to the forehead. It sounds strange, but it can make a difference. And then I do points on the head, body as well. In terms of some of the supplements, so riboflavin is one that's been studied, that's B2. Typically people are taking 400 milligrams. You need to take it for several months. It can reduce the headache frequency, and then you can miss less work days too. Along the B vitamins, the B6, folate, and B12 may help to prevent the days that you have a headache or a migraine. So that combination can be useful. CoQ10 is one that's commonly used. It can be used to reduce the duration and frequency of migraines, usually at about 100 to 300 milligrams a day. And if you take it with a migraine medication, it can reduce the frequency and shorten the duration. So some people take preventative meds, some people take, rescue medications, and the CoQ10 can reduce some of those associated symptoms like nausea and photosensitivity. Magnesium can help to reduce pain and migraine frequency. And those people that have migraines typically have lower blood levels and dietary intake of magnesium. Vitamin D has promising research. Feverfew has mixed reviews. Butterbur has positive effects in adults. We want to work on it from different levels, replacing deficiencies, reducing inflammation and pain. So I know that's a lot. I think that was the end of my slides. So I'll pass it on to Colleen. So Colleen is now going to talk about how incomplete communication, stress, and trauma can be the root cause of your migraines or headaches.
Thank you, Lisa. I just wanted to point out I have a less scary version of a foam roller because it's not black. I have purple. That's because I like purple. All right, my microphone keeps switching here. There we go. All right. I want to talk about, can we move to the next slide, please? I want to talk about Sarah. So when I've been speaking with Sarah, what I've noticed is that she didn't have migraines before 3 years ago. So she started having migraines 3 years ago, and she's sandwiched in between her kids and her aging parents. So my question is always, can you go to the next slide, please, Darrell? When I'm talking to somebody, when did this begin? So she's very clear. This started 3 years ago. And what was going on for you in your life at that time? Was something upsetting for you at that time? And do you have any lingering upset about what was going on then? And for Sarah, there was an incident with her parents. Her parents were fine. And then all of a sudden, she needed to become a caregiver for them. And so she's had a lot on her plate. So she's been stressed, but also what went down was emotionally difficult for Sarah. And she hasn't been able to process it yet because she's just been too busy. Also, who knows if you have to process something. Next slide, please. All right, communication. So I want to talk about clear communication. When communication is going well, it leads to clarity in the mind, a free flow of ideas, and the energy comes out the mouth instead of, I mean, this picture looks like it's coming out the head, but it isn't doing that. It's coming out the mouth with more communication. Next slide. But when we have upsetting events, sometimes we ignore them and we just try to move on over top of it. But unclear and incomplete communications lead to stress, fear, fractured thoughts, or feeling stuck. The energy is building up. All this energy of not knowing what's happened, of the emotional upset, not speaking about it, it can build up in the head. And unless we're speaking it, it's not coming out. And so sometimes we get a headache with that. Next. So I want to talk about the coat dumped on the floor. I want you to think about if you know, I have a son who likes to dump his clothes on the floor. So he comes in, he dumps his coat right in the middle of the floor, right where I'm trying to walk. So what does he do? He walks around it. I walk around it. And what happens when we just leave it there? We kick it over to the side because it's in our way. We stuff it into a hidden corner, and eventually it becomes until it's a hard, unrecognizable ball. And that's similar to when we have a thought that's rolling around in our brain or an unprocessed emotion that is really upsetting to us, and we just trying to live over top of it. It's like that coat on the floor. And so I want to talk about how to clean up these cycles. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, this is a case study. This is Carrie, not her real name. She's a 53-year-old woman. She suffered from migraines from the age of 21 after a specific incident with her parents. I asked her, when did this begin? And she was very clear about when this began. She had never thought about it. She had never thought about what was going on in her life at the time. I asked her, she was very clear about what was going on. And she also realized that she had a very deep communication that needed to get across. Now, this communication, it needs to get across to the same intensity that it was brought in with. So whatever intensity you have going on, that communication, you need to get clear on what the communication is and deliver it completely and fully with full intensity. And once she did that, she did this on a course that we were doing that was not about headaches or health. It just came up as something that was a barrier to her moving forward with the process that we were doing. Her migraines left and they never returned. And I've seen this happen in more cases than one on these retreats. Next slide, please. So my message to you is completing your communications. It is possible. It's possible to complete even very old communications without involving the other people. And you do this, it is possible to remove these barriers to your peace and happiness. Sometimes the cause of a headache is emotional and mental, and it isn't environmental. When it's environmental, you need to see Dr. Lisa. When it is stress related, you need to see Darrell Cheung. And when it is one of those momentary headaches that you can handle with you know, sometimes when you take a momentary and in the moment relief, that actually takes the headache away. But when it's deeper rooted and in the emotional realm, these things will not work. And so what you need to do is revisit what was going on, get clear in what you need to process, get clear on the communications, and deliver them. And I'm someone that can help you do that. I can help you find the barrier. And if the barrier isn't in the mental realm, I'll refer you to the person who you need to go to. And that's true for any one of our group. If you have headaches and you don't know what the cause is, speak to any one of the four of us, and we will either help you or direct you to the person who can help you. We're a team, and we want to see people feeling good and healthy and happy. Next slide. Thank you.
Right. So some of our next steps, we each have something to offer for those of you listening. So all four of us got to share, and I really hope you got to hear that holistic approach that can be used for headaches and migraines, because I think a lot of the questions that came in, the word hope came to my mind, or loss of hope. Really, a lot of people are on their last resort when it comes to especially migraines. There is hope out there, and one or all four of us would love to help. So for me, you can always find me on my Instagram. That's my Calendly booking link. You can book me 15 minutes. I'd love to have a chat to see if some of the oils I mentioned today or any of the other plant-based products might be able to help you. And after a chat, I'd love to mail you a little sample of the peppermint. You can try it on your next headache and see if it would help with some relief. But I'm here to be a detective with you. And I love partnering with these other three panelists, and I would love to refer to them as well.
So you guys are more than welcome to drop by the clinic and check it out. If you want to go sample the infrared sauna that helps to release stress and improve your mood, you're more than welcome to do that. Just give me a call on the number. But if you want to talk to one of my massage therapists or osteopaths to see if solving your headache and migraines makes sense to come in, definitely give me a shout, and I will hook you up with one of them to give you further details about what they can do to treat your situation.
Can you hear me okay? I know my resources are low right now. It's okay, yeah? With me, yeah, I'm going to post in the chat a link to my discovery call so you can determine if my approach is right for you. A lot of people that suffer from headaches and migraines, unfortunately, it's really debilitating and it's long term. You've probably explored a lot of options, but I can explain my unique approach and we can see if it's a good fit to work together moving forward. And if you book that call, then I'll send you my anti-inflammatory recipe booklet, which has some really tasty recipes, including different vegetables and smoothies and drinks that you can have, and snacks. So there's paleo sweet potato porridge, immunity booster smoothie, sweet cherry steel cut oats, one pan chicken, cauliflower and carrot fries. So book the 15-minute call, you'll get access to that recipe booklet. And then I'm going to post in the chat too. I do have a podcast called the Perimenopausal Mamas Podcast. I'll link to episode 20 where we talk about headaches and migraines, me and my co-host. So I'll put that there now. And I'll pass it over to Colleen.
Thank you, Lisa. So my background is meditation and yoga. And I've been doing that since 1971, so a long time, most of my life. And I've discovered that you have to have a clear mind in order to have enlightenment working. And so I've become an expert in helping people find the barriers that they have to whatever it is that they want to do in life. And so I help them. And sometimes the barriers are physical. Sometimes it's in the realm of pain in the body. And I can help clarify what the causes of that pain are. And so if the cause is physical, I would refer you to someone who deals in that realm. But if the cause is emotional, we can drill down and find it and relieve the communication, complete the communication cycle so that you can free up your energy and move forward in life. And I'm happy to give a free consultation to anyone. So you can reach out to me at soultrektransformation@gmail.com and book a time with me. And we can do a discovery call on either on Zoom or in person. And we can talk about your specific issues and what would help you. And I would love to see that you get helped.
Colleen, before we move on, I do have a question there. Is there a way to tell like when to, it's physical or when to use your services? Like, how do I know it's mental or emotional? Is there some signals there other than the discovery call that can help me guide?
Thinking about when if you're having migraines, think about when they began and what was going on in your life at that time. And if there is an emotional issue that either you've stuffed down or is still bothering you, that is the time that would be good to speak to me about what is going on. What happened at that time is the best question. When did this begin and what was going on? And is it finished or not finished?
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to the Q&A portion. Thank you very much to Colleen, Lisa, Rebeka for giving that presentation. But let's open it up to the floor. Is there any questions? You can type it in the chat, and we can try to address those questions. But just to start us off, we do have a couple of things that some people emailed us, and let me describe some of the things that people have asked us via email here. The first one here is that this person said they had a major struggle with migraines. Over-the-counter pain medications don't work. She needs stronger prescriptions to deal with the pain, and sometimes, the migraine is hormonal, weather related, and stress related. This person would like to learn more about the natural remedies that actually work, if there's such a thing, and is there any, scientific studies or data on these natural treatments?
I think I answered that, right? Because I had that question before. So and from my perspective, yeah, so I can open it up for other people.
Yeah, so definitely I think that person should be talking to Dr. Lisa Weeks to learn more about that. And maybe if you want to learn more about that research. One other one that we came by via email, they've been suffering of migraines since age 5. Over the years, they have changed from the migraine with aura to hemiplegic, which I'm not familiar with. I often see acupuncturists and have chiropractor adjustments. I work out several times a week and watch my diet. I'm a celiac and have been prescribed medication, oral injections by my neurologist. Did anybody want to chime in on what she might be wanting to look at?
I would love to talk to her about what was going on when she was 5. It sounds like there was a clear start to these things that happened. And I don't know what could have been going on, and it may be hard to access those memories to begin with, but it may not be. It may be very clear that there was something going on. Generally, with people with headaches, they don't ask that question. They don't ask the question, what was going on in my life when this began? And so I would love to speak with that person and see if there's some way that we can help her complete cycles that happened at that time.
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, with the hemiplegic, so that means like I guess it sounds like one side of your body might almost be like paralyzed temporarily as your symptoms. So it sounds like, it's progressing and getting worse. It's interesting with celiac disease. We know that, there's that autoimmune component, inflammatory component that may be influencing your blood vessels, right? So you may need to look for more cardiovascular support too, and reducing inflammation. And we know with celiac, I'm sure you're managing your diet well and watching what you're using on your skin, because we can absorb products with gluten in our skin too. But you may need to do some more intensive gut healing to reduce the inflammation in the gut. Your scopes and things may be normal, but you still may have something going on at a micro level that'll be influencing the inflammation, contributing to the symptoms that you're getting. So I do a gut healing protocol too.
It sounds like from the person in the email, they're doing quite a lot of things to stay in good health here. The only thing I could suggest here is maybe check out the osteopath for maybe a more holistic view of the body to see if there's anything that might be, resonating from one part of the body to the head. And so that's what I would suggest.
Osteopathy is magic. I just want to say it is amazingly healing. And so if you don't know about osteopathy, I would check it out.
Thanks, Colleen. It does look looks like magic, because it is kind of difficult to explain, but sometimes you have to come to experiencing it. So if you have any questions about osteopathy or are not sure about osteopathy and curious about it, just give me a shout and I'm more than happy to talk to you about it.
Feel free to unmute yourself. It is being recorded, but you can also type in the chat, or like we said, you can always contact us after if you have any questions. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to chat about live? We had some great ones come in before. I did just want to make a comment too, because I know I've heard from a lot of people who say scents cause them headaches, and my answer is me too. I can't handle different scents. It gives me an immediate headache, and so I always encourage people to use, really, if they're using essential oils, for example, they're very scented, to make sure you are using really high grade. So the ones that I personally use and partner with is doTERRA, and it's because they are the ones used in medical settings, in hospitals, in medical research universities. So that's the grade, and it does make a difference, because like many people, I also get headaches from scents. So it really does matter what you're using. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear too, because I think sometimes I've been in a room with a diffuser with oils on and I got a headache. So, and then we washed it out and put in a doTERRA one, and everyone's headache went away. So it does make a difference what you're using.
There's a question that popped up here, and they said that what does it mean when the headache occurs around the same time of the day repeatedly?
I could address that from my perspective too. And so I would look at, is it on waking, right? That can be associated with sleep apnea or poor sleep, right? Is it a certain time of the day when you're not eating or you're not getting enough water? Is it, what's your body position? Are you hunched over your computer and clenching your jaw and staring at your screen all the time? So through an extended, health intake, we would kind of deduce and see what could be some of those factors for you. And even our cortisol has a natural rhythm in the day. Cortisol is anti-inflammatory, and we need some of it, right? We need it to be high in the morning, but not too high. And as the day goes on, it drops down. That keeps our pain and inflammation in check. If you don't get enough sleep, your cortisols are off, you're more achy the next day, right? So maybe there's something going on with your cortisol rhythm too, and you're getting more manifestation of pain certain times of the day.
Yeah. We also have another one here, just going through this more emails here. Someone says here.
Actually, I just want to address that. I just want to, it's like sometimes there's that physical sensation that feels like it could be a headache, and we call it a headache, and it isn't a headache. And this happens sometimes with yoga expression and yoga evolvement. And so the energy in the body is needing some kind of release, and sometimes it's helpful to make sounds. So I talked about energy in the head, and so if it's if it's feeling like there's energy, especially in the top of the head, that is a space where the Kundalini sometimes gets trapped. It can't actually move. And one of the ways to release it is to actually sing or make beautiful sounds or loud sounds out of your mouth and express. Get yourself letting the emotion come out of your mouth. And it's like, let it be emotional. Let it be on a river of sound, letting the energy come out instead of getting trapped up here. And also any work that you do with, it's like releasing tension in the body and allowing the energy to flow will be helpful. It can be helpful. And so that is, that's from a yogic perspective. Sometimes the energy is just getting trapped in the body and you need to give it some release. And you can release it through exercise. You can release it through sound, dancing, anything that's letting the energy move out of the body.
Thanks, Colleen. I just want to move on to the next email here. Someone says here that I vomit one of the 3 days I have a severe migraine. And in the 25 years I had migraines, this feature only shows up about 7 years ago. Why is my body doing this? She quotes here that migraines are noted to cease when a woman goes through menopause. That was the case for my mother, but this has not been the case for me. Is there a chance that it might? Is it hereditary? I believe so. And why wouldn't it follow the same pattern? My mom and my grandmother and great-grandmother had migraines too.
I can speak to that a bit. I did touch on, so the different areas of the brainstem can be impacted. So maybe your migraines shifting into different areas. There's different changes in the neurological pathways and signals in different parts of the brain. That includes the nausea and vomiting center too. There was an old theory that when you have a migraine, there's gastroparesis, where things slow down in your gut. And then eventually the force of it and the pressure makes you vomit it out, or the gut starts moving again and there's undigested food and the food comes out. That's one theory. And then with the estrogen, well, with the genetics, some people believe yes, some people are saying maybe the evidence isn't quite there, but it can run in families for sure. But I think everybody has, their own individual treatments. Maybe some common threads run through the family. The estrogen changes can be, make migraines worse. Premenopausally, keeping estrogen levels stable can benefit some people, right? If they're put on a stable estrogen dose through the pill. Postmenopausally, estrogen HRT for some may worsen migraines, but you might be married maybe in that early menopause, perimenopause, where your estrogen's all over the place. So it could be kind of like worse right now. And then when your estrogen's more consistently low, maybe you're not going to experience it as much.
Yeah. And just one more from the email, treasure trove. And this person says, I'm currently under my doctor's care for migraine that started earlier this month. For about a week, the migraines caused dizziness, tremors, and problems with my ears. And I was tired all the time. I spoke with the family doctor and told him my symptoms. He told me that he'd be referring me to a neurologist and an ENT specialist, which, because under the current conditions, could take months for the referral. Meanwhile, he has been arranging to get a CT scan and is also prescribed something called Celebrex, taking it since February the 16th. The question here is how to handle migraines without taking medication. Not really comfortable taking the Celebrex.
I would say try Lisa. Speak with Lisa. And talk about different nutritional and supplemental therapies. I would also look at communications, and this is also for the last person, the last person we were speaking about. There could be sometimes there's a physical genetic thing, but sometimes there's a social genetic thing. You're brought up in the same family, you do the same things. Maybe you have maybe there's a habit in the family of being polite or of being nice and not saying what you mean and not really trying to not hurt others. But in the end, what we're doing is we're hurting ourselves by not allowing our own truth to be there and to be as important as someone else's truth. So your truth, it's like we collectively, sometimes our truths are the same and sometimes our truths are opposite to each other. It doesn't make anyone's truth less. It just is sometimes we lessen our own truth for another. And this can cause a chronic thing where we're not speaking, we have energy in the head, we're clenching our jaw, we're holding energy in, and we're making ourselves sick with it. And so how do we learn the art of speaking the truth while being having the intention to be non-injurious, both to others and to ourselves? And I think that's really an important key in everything here, is how do we make space for our truth and be gentle with ourselves while also being mindful of other people.
This person also could try out the natural remedies, such as Rebeka and the essential oils, to see what they can do as a natural way to reduce the migraines, and even to talk to me and the osteopath about, to see if there's anything, like, you need to have someone hands on checking your body to see if there's any misalignments or restrictions. And I think that will be a good way to kind of rule out any restrictions or lack of mobility in the body there. I think there was one or two questions in the chat, and then we'll wrap it up here. Someone is saying, what if it's not a typical headache, but a pressure on the top of my head? My mom has been experiencing that on and off for a few years. She just turned 80.
I think, is that the one you answered, Colleen, right? About sometimes
the pressure in the head, yeah.
Okay.
And then I know Dr. Lisa answered about the magnesium. It's in the chat there, some of the foods. And then just another question we had for magnesium is how much should someone take if they're taking the supplement? Oh, you answered that one too. There you go.
I posted in the chat, there's different benefits to different types of magnesium. So for you to get the best benefits, it is important to see someone one-to-one, such as myself, so I can determine, do you need one that supports digestion a little bit more, that calms the nervous system? If you take too much, it can be a laxative effect. Sometimes there's interactions with medications. So I didn't mention, I usually say a disclaimer, don't self-prescribe all of the things I recommended. You want to make sure it's safe for you.
That makes a lot of sense, Lisa, because my wife, I was giving her the magnesium pills, and they didn't really have any effect on her. And then we switched to the Calm, this powder, and that made a huge difference. And so, different types of magnesium.
Not all magnesiums are equal.
Okay, well, thank you very much for everyone for attending. You have our contact information. We'll send out a follow-up email with a couple of the bonuses that we talked about and our contact information, so you can reach out. Headaches and migraines, you guys, let's try all these different strategies and let's see what we can do to help support you. And everyone on the panel here thinks of each other. And so we will, work to support you as best we can.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
We will, thank you so much for coming.
You can see it's a complicated topic.